serve cold with the wolves and the Hawks never shiver in the snow. The Bulls keep it running, the Sox run the South, the Cubs run the North, but the Bears run the house. True Chicago sports fans got their ears to the street. Any team make a move and they never skip a beat. And in this house, this is where we be. Welcome to the show with E-Rock and Big Z.
Welcome to Chicago. Coming to you live from the True Chicago Sports Fan Cave. This is the TCSF podcast, Bears post game with E-Rock and Big Z. We're brought to you by 606 Media, True Chicago Sports Fans, ACSI, and Grit Clothing Company. Don't forget to go to gritclothingco.com and get your official TCSF podcast t-shirt. Search for keyword True Chicago and use our promo code TrueFan15 for 15% off your entire order. That is TrueFan15. Go and get your official TCSF shirts now. As always, I'm Big Z, and I'm here with my boy, the man, the myth, the legend, E-Rock. What up, E?
What's up, Z? What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show. If you're a first-timer or a long-timer, please remember to hit that subscribe button, that notify button, and go ahead and give us a review on your listening app of choice. And don't forget, you can support the show with a monthly subscription at anchor.fm/True Chicago Sports Fans. Head on over there, and you can be a subscriber for as low as 99 cents a month. We are here live on Facebook after a very exciting Bears victory over the Detroit Lions. But before we get too deep into the show, let me tell you about a great opportunity with our friends over at ACSI. With over 50 expert technicians in the Chicagoland area, ACSI offers a one-stop shop for telecom wiring. Whether residential cable installation, fiber to the home, or commercial structured cable wiring, ACSI is a proud partner of both Comcast and RCN. Guys, let me tell you the most impressive thing about ACSI. During these hard times, the ACSI crew did their thing during the COVID-19 pandemic, and ACSI was awarded Hacia's 2020 Contractor of the Year award. The best part is that ACSI is growing bigger and better than ever. ACSI is now hiring for field sales technicians and project managers. Check out acsi.tech, that's acsi.tech, and click on careers to apply today.
Go get you a job.
All right, y'all, let's talk some Bears football, baby.
There it is, man.
Right.
Victory.
Bears victory. Finally, we see Justin Fields coming out playing really well. A heavy dose of David Montgomery to start the first drive of the game. The Bears drive down 75 yards and take a 7-0 lead on a 4-yard rushing touchdown by Monty. And we also saw Fields with a really great pass down to Mooney in that first drive. And the big hope is that we're going to be seeing this combo for a long time to come.
Yeah, the Bears looked actually like a decent NFL team. Looked like they belong and should not be regulated to playing Pee Wee football. They actually had an offensive line that held up most of the game. You had a running game that dominated the field, and that opened up everything up for Justin Fields. So
absolutely,
we've been saying this for about a year and a half.
Yeah, I mean, the Bears went on. They scored a touchdown in the second as well. Shout out to our boy Berto for recognizing early on that Nagy wasn't playing calling the plays, But yeah, defense is definitely getting penetration. But Goff, he was mobile enough to get out of some of the pockets collapsing. Detroit drove into the red zone. Deion Bush nearly had an interception, but they called an incomplete pass because he dropped the ball. Nagy actually challenged that, and then they lost that challenge. But then as we continue, we saw the Bears actually recover a bad snap off of the Lions and take the ball over deep in their own territory. But then Justin Fields had that really nice deep pass over to Mooney, and it was like that super clean pass. It was very, very much so a sign of things to come with Fields going over to Mooney. And he started the game 4 for 4 with 93 yards.
Look for Justin Fields to throw to Mooney a lot more. It looks like that's his favorite receiver. And that's going to be important in the A-Rob saga that's going to go on at the end of the year. So if they move on from A-Rob, then they say, okay, Mooney, you slide over to the number 1 slot, and maybe they pick up somebody in free agency to supplement all the void that's left over by Mooney in that slot. Justin Fields with 11 for 17 with 209 yards. That interception was a tip, wasn't really his fault. Montgomery with 23 carries for 106 yards, and it would have been a lot more if he had not got hurt. He had 2 touchdowns.
Well, the thing is that, he had that first rushing touchdown in the beginning of the game, and then he did have a second rushing touchdown to start the second quarter. And then, the Lions got the ball back. They drove it a bit deep into Bears territory, but the Bears tipped that pass that Goff had on 4th down. They got that turnover on downs. It was interesting to see how aggressive the Bears defense was again against the Lions, kind of picking off where they played for the last couple weeks. We saw a couple of punts there. The Lions were able to march down the field over and over again, but the Bears defense came up huge time and time again. One play where Quinn forced Goff to fumble, and then Mack with the recovery, and then he tossed it over to Eddie Jackson running, and it was called an illegal forward pass. But the Bears took over from the 23. And one impressive thing that I did see from Fields, his stats weren't eye-popping, but there was one play where you knew for sure that if it was Trubisky, he would have got lit up. Like Fields went out of a for sure sack.
That was a sick spin. That was a sick-ass spin.
It was right on time, but the problem is that he managed to get the throw off, and Cole Kmet tripped over his own feet and he missed
what he did was he pushed off. He pushed off the defender and then fell down and tried to get the pass interference. Yeah.
Look, he should have caught that ball. Period.
He should have caught that ball.
This is what drives me nuts, is that sometimes you see him going over this nonsense play and hey, go after the ball. Don't worry about your stupid pass interference. Try to catch that ball, because if he would have caught that ball, that would have been a completion.
Well, if he were not pushed off, he could have just ran across the field and caught it. I mean, that's the biggest thing.
Exactly. So, unfortunately on that drive, there was a tip pass. That was the Justin Fields interception that we were just talking about.
Right.
It was a weird tip, and so it wasn't really a true interception. But one thing that's really impressive to me about Justin Fields is literally the speed of his throws, because that one throw that he did throw down to Mooney early on when we saw him Mooney running down the sideline, that ball came out so fast. It looked like a baseball pitch. And you could see that on the interception, he threw it so hard that it got tipped up so far in the area. It was just a guinea ball at that point.
Yeah, you can really see his skills being presented to the whole NFL at this point, because you see him throwing down the field with ease. It looks like he's just tossing it. He's not throwing really hard. It's just the way he can throw. And he's got pinpoint accuracy to drop it on a dime right to Mooney between the defender and the sideline. That's the only place he can catch it. The only place that he's going to be able to catch it is right there, and the defender had no chance. That's stuff that we would see with other quarterbacks when they would play against us, and now we're able to do it against them. So this is a good sign, great encouragement. A big shout out to the defense. They showed up. They showed up. You had Alec Ogletree with 10 tackles and 2 assists. You had Roquan Smith with a sack, Quinn with a sack, Gibson with a sack, Mack with a sack. And what we did see,
with his first career sack, Evan Gibson with his first career sack,
right? And what we did see was they were actually blitzing, stuff that we have not seen in years. There was actual blitz packages that were sent out to say, we're going to take care of this guy.
So it was nice to see the Bears actually play ahead. They went up in the half, 14-0. The first possession of the second half, though, it had me searching for Allen Robinson, because I had only seen Mooney. He was the main target for Fields. And then literally right when I set the chat, right on cue, A-Rob had a snatch for a 32-yard pass down the field. So, again, like I said, you see Fields throw that ball. It's a super quick pass. It's almost like a football throw in the way, or a baseball pitch, the way that it gets out of there. And then on the very next play after that long pass down to Mooney, Damian Williams runs it over for another Bears rushing touchdown. So at this point, we're up 21-0. Look, I think that what we saw last year out of the running attack, we were sitting there always left wanting more. And unfortunately, we know that Cohen is still injured, and we don't know when he's coming back. Patterson is no longer on the team. He's in Atlanta, and he's actually doing okay down there. I mean, he's racking up a lot of fantasy. But I think that, the fact that we have a guy like Damian Williams, a guy from Kansas City that we know that Matt Nagy knows really well, knows his capabilities, and actually had the game. I'm going to say he had the game-winning run when the Chiefs won that Super Bowl a couple years ago. So, you talked a little bit about the defense, and Khalil Mack, again, with his 4th sack of the season to end the Lions' first drive in the second half. It's been impressive between what we've seen from Mack, what we saw from Robert Quinn. I don't know if Quinn got inspired by what his sister did in the Olympics, but he has definitely stepped up this season. And we're seeing a lot more of him that we're seeing really what we expected to see of him when we came over as a free agent.
Yeah. I mean, definitely the defense has stepped up, and it's big that Quinn has been playing very well. Ogletree's been playing very well. I mean, obviously we know that Mack and Roquan Swift are going to be the defensive leaders, but it's nice to see Gibson. It's nice to see Shelley, and it's nice to see the other Jalen Johnson play well. There was a couple games that
definitely stepped up.
Yeah, definitely stepped up, and there's been a couple times where there's been miscommunication, and that's when they scored that touchdown. And it was like a 30-yard pass or whatever it was. But I mean, that's going to happen in an NFL game as long as it doesn't become a habit and they can clean that up. I think going forward, more of these games that we're playing against, especially because next week is going to be against the Vegas Raiders, and then they got, I think, who they got? Tampa, they got Green Bay, they got a bunch of really good teams that they're going to be playing, and these errors, these simple errors, are not going to be something that that the Bears can allow because they can't play catch up.
Well, I think the thing is that after a game like we saw last week, where it was just such a bad failure, I mean, we see now. I think this is the exact reason why the Bears were waiting for Fields to start against the Detroit Lions, because they felt like he would have the most success. But I also think that him playing last week actually gave him some of that, more of a chip on his shoulder, like he doesn't have one already. Right. But, it gave him more of a chip on his shoulder. Now, we saw him doing the rookie mistakes. I mean, he kind of had that like funny little pass that he tried to like toss over when he felt some pressure. And you can kind of see him holding onto the ball a little bit long when the pocket does kind of collapse. But he is standing in there strong, and he's trusting this very suspect O-line to keep him upright. Well, the one thing I will say about this O-line is that they have been blocking for the running game, and the running game has actually been one of the most impressive things about this team. So if we can continue with this running attack, now again, David Montgomery, he had a great game today, 23 carries, 106 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he did have that knee injury, and it was bad enough that the broadcast did not show us the knee injury. They said it was too gross to show on TV.
Yeah, they said too gross, yeah.
That was definitely a concern, but the way that they've been using the rushing attack and the way that the defense has played so far this year, if we can see big improvement from Justin Fields this year, I mean, I feel good about everything going forward. And this right here, this is the reason why I didn't panic last week. Yeah, I was pissed, but I don't panic because you always have next week. Let's see what happens. You got to have a short memory, man.
You do have to have a short memory in the NFL because, these weeks go really, really fast. And then it's always the next man up. And right now, Dave Montgomery, he's going to be out for some time. We don't know the extent of the injury yet. And once we know, we'll put it on the page. But that's something that it's going to be next man up. And the guy we have right behind Montgomery is a pretty good running back. So, now we need another man to step up under him for the change of pace back. Right. But again, that offensive line is blocking. That offensive line, just like last year, it's taking some games to get used to, some games to get the grease the wheels per se to no more squeaking of those wheels because they're being greased, and now they kind of see it. And I think a lot of it has to do with the scheming and the play calling that was done by Mr. Laser. We saw the Laser show.
We did. I mean, like Berto said, we could recognize early on that Maggie was no longer calling the plays. Let's do a quick finish up this recap here. Detroit did finally get on the board with a Jared Goff touchdown to Khalif Raymond with about 3 minutes left in the quarter. I mean, I'm sure some of us got a little bit nervous. The Bears came back, put a field goal on the board, but then that like I said, that touchdown to Khalif Raymond, that was an 8-play, 75-yard scoring drive. So, we saw them kind of with that bend, don't break mentality. Right. But yeah, I mean,
they were playing a lot of cover too.
a lot of cover two, very Lovie Smith-esque play out of the defense. You know, they kind of play better from ahead, obviously, because they're not panicking. But yeah, I mean, like I said, we did see a couple of those rookie mistakes out of Justin Fields. He was fighting a sack and he lost the football. Somehow he came back to recover the ball in the backfield, and the Bears ended up with a 3rd and 32 from the 21-yard line. The Bears run a little screen pass to get a little bit more room for the punt with about 8 minutes left in the game. Lions get the ball back, and Raymond, again, who seems to be the only player on this team aside from Swift, he had a nice little return, but Roquan Smith gets a sack on Jared Goff in the first down. Goff kept overthrowing these receivers, so I can see why they wanted to get him out of L.A., and, and even the funny thing is that the Lions had a free play because a Bears penalty, and they just completely muffed that. You know what I mean? Like Aaron Rodgers would have a touchdown, walked off and played golf and, whatever. But yeah, I mean, and we were talking about some of these first timers, some of these young guys making really big plays. Travis Gibson actually stripped the ball, but for some reason he didn't pick it up. Goff recovered and again overthrows his main receiver, Raymond. And we actually had an Eddie Goldman sighting, but unfortunately was offsides at 4th and 1. And we saw the Lions kind of gain some momentum and gain confidence. But once again, the Bears managed to stop the Lions on a 4th down because for some reason the Lions didn't go for that field goal. And the Bears end up getting the ball back and securing a victory. Like I said, this is probably why the Bears were waiting so long to play Justin Fields, because they wanted him to have a cake game. And unfortunately for the Lions, this was definitely a cake game for the Bears, to me.
Well, I mean, at the same time, before we knew who the starter was at the beginning of the season, we were saying it's going to be Andy Dalton until they play the Lions. We said at home, it'll be a nice cushion because the Lions suck. And it kind of proved its point. The Lions do suck. Justin Fields was good at home. He had, the crowd behind him. It was kind of a cushy win. Now, all right, kid, into the Lions den. We're going to Vegas.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be a definitely interesting game. Vegas is really no joke. We see. I know the thing is with Vegas is that I know that their running back is injured right now, so that's something to look for. But I mean, you got a tight end like Darren Waller. He is probably one of the best, if not the best, tight end in the league, right behind Kelsey or right next to Kelsey, if you want to call him 1A and 1B. So they do definitely have a strong team. And this is always going to be an interesting game for someone like Khalil Mack, because I want to say this is either the second or third time that the Bears are going to be taking on the Raiders after the Khalil Mack trade. And they have gotten the best of us twice.
Yes, they have. All right, so we're going to move on to the good, the bad, and the wrong one there. Good, bad, and the ugly. All right, so for the good, what do you got?
The good, I'm gonna say the Bears rushing attack. I mean, we like I said, we saw that the offensive line was actually being able to move the ball. The O line is actually creating some holes, and they seem to be doing well. And they actually protected Justin Fields pretty well. I want to say there wasn't he didn't get nearly as dirty as he did last week with those 9 sacks. That was awful. But I think that the line definitely improved a little bit. But when they go against different competition next week, it's going to be a different story. The one advantage that they have is that the Raiders don't play until the Monday night game against the Chargers, and that's going to be a hard-fought divisional game. So maybe because of that short week, we'll be able to catch them off guard a little bit. But again, we do travel to Vegas for that game.
For me, the good has got to be Justin Fields. The kid bounced back from an ugly performance last week. I know he had the handcuffs and both on his hands and his feet last week. But this week he came out. He said he knew the playbook inside and out. He stayed up studying it. And he came out, and he really didn't make that many mistakes. As for a rookie, the interception was not his fault. It was tipped. That's going to happen in the NFL to anybody.
That was like a true interception, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to happen to anybody in the NFL. And what do you have, like over 200 yards? So, I mean, he already had more yards this week than the Bears had in the last couple games. So, that's my
I want to say for Justin Fields, it was the first couple of within the first 3 throws, he already had more than he had for the whole game last season or last week.
Right, the whole Bears offense, right?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, what's your? Yeah, go ahead. I'm going to let you take it.
Oh, you take the bad. Oh,
go ahead.
The bad. Well, the bad for me. It's got to be that Nagy feels really bad that he can't use his denim venue anymore. That's the bad news for Matt Nagy. The laser show, pew pew, is on full effect. So Matt Nagy, be a team builder, be a rah-rah dude. Throw your red flags when you can to not get them right, and step aside, bro.
I mean, the bad for me is David Montgomery's injury. To see him, and again, if his injury was so bad that they wouldn't show it on TV, I mean, we saw Dak Prescott's leg hanging last year. You know what I mean? So the fact that we did not see the David Montgomery injury makes me think this is a bad knee injury. It's very concerning to me. And because this is going to be your second, if let's say, if we're being honest, whenever we see knee injuries or hear about injuries, we know that it's more than likely going to be that ACL.
Right.
The same thing happened with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow got his whole knee blown out. And the same thing happened with Tariq Cohen last season. And the fear is that your number one running back is not going to be available next week when you do, again, face the Raiders. So that's going to be the bad for me because we just really don't know how bad this injury is and what the injury is yet. Now, I like Williams, but as a bruiser, he's not that guy. So I'm hoping
he's
that
more a finesse guy.
he's going to have to step in, and I hope that he can actually fill some of that role.
Right, so now you got to change your scheme as far as running. You're not going to be running up the middle as much with him because he's not a bruiser, as you said. That is my ugly. That is not my bad. That is my ugly because if they can't show that on TV, and we seen some gruesome injuries on TV, whether it's Paul George, where it's Robin Ventura, where it's, like you said, Dak Prescott, Burrow. There's been some really ugly ones where you see ankles and hands not in the right direction. So if they can't show it on TV, it must have been a really disgusting one. So that's my ugly.
Yeah. My ugly is going to go back to last week's performance against the Browns because if they had the capability to do what they did today and even look, competent, yes, the Browns are a better team. Yes, the Browns are probably going to be a Super Bowl contender. But I mean, how bad and ugly that was last week. And to see them recover was great, but it just shows how incompetent the play calling was last week. And my fear is that going forward, when they have to face different competition, that they might revert back to what they did previously. So to me, when I look at the comparison, yes, it was, like I said, it was nice to see them recover, but unfortunately, in the long run, this is more the exception and not the rule. When you see them have nice, clean games. I mean, yeah, the interception. The fumble by Fields that he somehow recovered himself was great. But overall, I mean, that is my fear. So that's going to be my ugly for this.
All right. So let's now preview next week's game against the Raiders.
So I mean, the thing is with the Raiders is that we don't know if they're going to be at full strength. Right now, they are 3-0, but they play the Monday night game against the Chargers, which is going to be a hard-fought divisional team. Mm-hmm. It's going to be interesting to see how healthy they come out. Josh Jacobs might not be playing for them. I'm pretty sure he's going to be out for the Raiders, and that's the players that they got with the pick that they received for Khalil Mack, and he tore us up last time. So I like the matchup, but again, I really just don't know. My fear is that with a better team, like I said, right now Vegas is 3-0. They're playing really well, but I fear that a lot of these road games, like I said before, the Bears have the alternating schedule, home and away. There's no two home or no two away games consecutively. So with the away games, they're definitely going to be under a lot of more pressure. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
This is the first time in forever that the Bears have actually scored over 20 points, and I don't see them doing it next week. I think that they might. They might be able to get 17, but I feel it's going to be like a 17-28.
Here's the thing about the Raiders. Their first game, they won 33-27 against the Ravens. The Ravens have a good offense, but their defense is garbage. You got the Raiders versus the Steelers. The Steelers are not looking good, 26-17. Then you had the Raiders versus the Dolphins. The Dolphins are an up-and-coming team, but they're missing pieces left and right on both sides of the field. That was a 31-28. So you can put up points on the Raiders. The problem is, can you outscore them? And I don't think the Bears can outscore them. They can't go into a shooting match.
You is the proverbial, the imperial you. You know what I mean? The as a public you, not the you, hey, you, Chicago Bears, you can score points on a consistent basis. I mean, the fact that you notice that all three of their touchdowns did come on the run. You know what I mean? So that's one of the things that I come back to is that if Montgomery is not there, two of your touchdowns today in your 24-14 win came from that player that's not going to be there next week. If the way that they put this up there now, if by hook or by crook they put a shot in his knee or give him a artificial knee or a robot leg or whatever they do next week, and he's out there somehow, I don't believe that he'll be out there. But if he is out there somehow, then I'll feel a lot more confident that they can score more points. But they had a very balanced attack today. We saw a couple of throws downfield, which was impressive. We saw some short passes. They are still not utilizing the tight ends at all. Protection was a little bit better. We saw them, be able to hold up that line a little bit longer. But again, without your main rushing attack, I'm fearful that they can score the points that they're going to need to win that game.
So your score, what was your score again?
My score is going to be 28-17. Raiders.
I'm going to go 28-14. I think we just put up 2 touchdowns. So 28-14, 28-17. I think it's a loss. I mean, I know we agreed that this week was going to be a loss, but it was a good surprise that they won. But next week's firepower is way too much versus what we played today.
Well, I think even today we had such a low-scoring game. I think, what did you say, 10-9?
Yeah, I said baseball score 10-9 because we didn't know who the quarterback was. That's
true, too. Because they did announce Justin Fields starting pretty late. Andy Dalton, I don't think, when we see a performance like this, like I said, it wasn't eye-popping numbers that the Bears had in this game. But, we use the eye test over here. We know that the Lions are not a good team. We can see that now they're 0-4. Dan Campbell can sit there and swear and get angry all he wants. But they're now an 0-4 team. And the Bears are definitely better than that. But I'm just so worried about Montgomery and what he's going to be able to do. That's my main fear in this game.
All right. Well, it's time to get out of here because we have a busy Sunday of recording our regular show.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget you can check out the audio version of the show every Monday morning over on our Spotify page, True Chicago Sports Fan Podcast. Just go ahead and go over there. Spotify and every other streaming platform, your platform of choice. Go over there and give us a review, 5 stars, please, if you like our show. And don't forget to check out the regular podcast. True Chicago Sports Fan Podcast is available every Tuesday morning. We hit every topic under the sun for all of your Chicago sports needs. Big thank you to our sponsors, 606 Media, True Chicago Sports Fans, ACSI, and Grit Clothing Company. Don't forget to go to gritclothingco.com and get your official TCSF podcast t-shirt. Search for keyword True Chicago and use our promo code TrueFan15 at checkout for 15% off of your entire order. That's TrueFan15. Go and get your shirts right now. And don't forget to check out our friends over at ACSI.Tech and check out the career section to start an exciting new career in the communications industry. Go to ACSI.Tech, that's ACSI.Tech, and click on careers to apply today. All right. Don't forget to check us out on social media. You can find us at True Chi Fans on Twitter and on Instagram. Our Instagram is True Chicago Sports Fans. Don't forget to check out the full show, like I said, every Tuesday morning. All right, y'all. For Big C, this is E-Rock. We'll see you next week when the Bears travel to Vegas to face Derek Carr and the Raiders. Until then, be good to each other.
For the love of sports.
Yeah, bear down, Chicago.
Bear down, baby.